What's up? What's up, guys? It's Marques Cotto with Mike Mendez with Aesthetic Business. What's up, bro?
Good, man. We're getting into, this one's gonna be about real estate. So you and I are both real estate guys. We both like it. I do that professionally. You are an investor. And so it's, I think you and I have a different take on what's going on right now, and not necessarily the market, but what we're doing right now. And so I kind of like to talk about what you're doing.
Oh man, I love real estate. It's like one of my favorite things to talk about, but man, you know me, I went hard as shit at the end of last year and at the beginning of the year. So right now I am where I am with the market, and I am just chilling. I am not buying anything right now. I am just laying low, right? I am paying myself back through some entity that I'm doing. Maybe we'll talk about that one day, so that's what I'm doing right now. I mean, I've already took on 9 units since from the start of the year. I've gained 9 units. So where the economy is now, I just everything being on the market, I'm just gonna wait. I'll probably buy something at the end of the year. I'm looking at a duplex.
So did the economy make you take a break, or did you decide this on your own?
Both. Both waiting on a sale, and negotiation prices are a little bit better. Things are better on the market. Looking at the government, man, and just looking at how interest rates are going up, inflation's a motherfucker, you know what I mean? So it's just and then looking at other podcasts, looking at other investors that are more seasoned, been around a recession. I look at the people who's been through a recession or two, and see what's going on, and I just make my own assumptions. So right now it just seems smart to let back, and now deals are negotiable again.
Yeah. I've recently, I'm looking for properties, right? So one of the reasons why I had to admit I was scared to get into my next deal. And I have a really strong knee-jerk reaction. Anytime I admit I'm scared of something, I run right into it. We got to go head first. You and I had talked about that. And so I started talked to Derek, so who we had on the podcast. Man, he was great to talk to.
Great guy.
Someone just someone that wasn't right. And he didn't sit there and say, hey, look, okay, I can help you out, but right now I need $5.99 or I need $100. Just none of that stuff. He just provided information and just hey, if you use me, not, man, cool. So again, those people are always great to be around, of that are never need money to get just talk. So that's great. Yeah. So what we're looking at right now is doing hard money here in Lubbock, Texas. I've actually gone through a couple, said no to a couple deals already. Kind of want to discuss the reason why I said no to them. So there was one. So of course, I'll just go over the things that we have over here in Lubbock, right? So we have hard money, which is going to be $5,000 down. You have a 3.3 origination fee with that. And then they give you 75% loan to value ratio, right? So your LTV is 75% of your ARV after repair value, right? So if I buy a house and I can fix it up to 150, they will loan me 75% of that. So just want to get that out there so people understand what it is in my market that we're doing, right? So we found this one property. They listed at $80,000, right? So $80,000, it's a bad part of town. We went to it, we looked at it, and our ARV was 90, but we'll be nice and give them 100K ARV, right? So if we do that one, right? So if you go that one and you do 75% of that, that's only 75 grand. So I already cannot offer hard money. We go into it, we look at it, man, total gut job. Trees were going through everywhere. We're going to have that. We're worried about now because it's an older house. Now we're worried about plumbing. We're worried about electrical. Is it updated? What are these things? Oh, there's no AC. We're going to have to install that. So we're thinking, okay, rough numbers. All right, we need about 40K worth of rehab. With that, when you have a 75,
what is it? 3-1, 2-1, 2-2. What is it? What we got?
It was a 3-1. So it was a 3-1. They had additional, they had a patio that they enclosed, that washer and dryer hookups, but it's a smaller house. The roof looked like it was about to cave in. The area for the patio where they had, enclosed off was no good. So there's that, right? So you're looking at, okay, that we even thought it even looked like there might have been some asbestos on some of the walls or something like that. So right, that's another 5 to 10K. Yeah. So you start looking at this when you're like, okay, cool. I need 30K to kind of walk into this deal. And they're like, no. And she, the person told us, hey, I got 65K offer. We're like, hey, call him, take him. That's a steal. Like you're the one making out. So we said no to that one just from being there. Look at the numbers. Okay, it has to be 75K to even get a loan, the hard money loan. They're at 80, so we're gonna have to negotiate down. Look at the repairs. We're gonna need 30, 40K. I wanted 30 because I'm like, I feel like there's even more stuff going on here we don't know about, so we need an extra 10,000 cushion. So we obviously said no to that one, but that's the reason behind it. It just didn't make sense. The numbers were easy to walk away from.
I think for like where we are now with the market and just with the economy, it's like imperative that you do double check, triple check, quadruple check all your numbers, all your plumbing. If this is a flood zone, this is that. Like you got to like insurance, like you've got to do all these extra due diligence twice or three times for where we are, just to make sure the deal is fucking solid. You know what I mean? Just to make sure the deal is solid, because we know how contractors are, right? That, you know how contractors are. Things break. You find things with gut jobs, things, unexpected things. So you need it's just so much, right? So I love the fact that you're doing this and you're doing it with the hard money, right? And you're barely coming out with nothing.
Yep. Yeah, and so the second deal we had, or we looked at, there's one. It's in my favorite neighborhood. It's where I already have one property. So this is kind of, I like that area. I want to own a lot of that. Like that. It's a Cap Rock. So it's between two major intersections. It's a C plus neighborhood, I like to say. I think it's a really good area where people love to be at. It's just they don't have the money to afford to buy a house, and that's kind of that simple. Or you got people who've owned there's a lot of people who are the original owners of those houses too. So it's kind of that area where there's a lot of hidden gems, man. Personally, I found a hidden gem. There's more hidden gems there. I think people want to live. Some people don't care and they don't take care of the house, but some people want to take care of the house. They just don't have the money to afford it. And that's what I want to do as somebody who owns property, is give somebody the opportunity to have something really nice and they can take care of it and it makes them feel good. They just may not have the money to own it, but that shouldn't be a reason why people live in horrible conditions. You and I have both talked about.
I mean, I think that's dope, man. And Lubbock has so much potential, right? I own a place in Lubbock, right? And I've looked and scaled a Lubbock. It has some great duplex areas, has a nice golf course in the areas. But if you got to know, just like any other market, and Lubbock is one of those markets, you got to know the areas. There is a west side area. There is an east side area, northwest, like where everything's popping at. Like these are things that you need to know. And when I got into Lubbock, I kind of knew those things, but Mike put me more game because he was even from there. So I learned even more. And honestly, if I'd knew Mike was from there, right, I wouldn't even bought the deal that I had now. I would have went with something else. Right. And that's just being 100%. But it still has a lot of potential and it looks like it's going to be doing very well in the future. But the fact that Mike is in this growing little town, I just see unlimited potential before everybody find out what the hell's going on over there.
And that's what's funny, that's how you and I kind of reconnected over so many years. Because you're like, hey, I got this property. Like, actually, I just moved here and I'm from here. I moved from Japan. So it was like kind of like, the universe brings you together with people. And, now that I'm in real estate and you're starting to find out, man, like, hey, we're going to be at Fort Worth, we're going to be a Fort Worth city in the next 5 to 10 years. So when you're looking at property values, like it's going to get bigger, and that's how it's already happening. So our market is something that like I'm looking into and be like, man, we have 5 different kind of like status economic like businesses over here that make sure we don't go through a recession. And I think that's imperative. And so that's why we're looking at properties, right? Like, we're looking at the national news. They're saying all these things about we're in a housing recession. I look at our markets and they're saying our market is way different than nationally because of, universities, hospitals, agriculture, all those things. But anyways, so we're looking at a deal within the Cap Rock district, and the person wanted, let's say, change some numbers so that way people don't know who they are. But roughly the ARV for a house was 150. And this was a for sale by owner. So this is somebody who's actually selling their own house without a realtor in that thing. That person wanted 190. So 190, took a look at it and kind of looked at it, those things. And you kind of look at it and be like, it's a lipstick job. But again, 75% here and there, these numbers just don't make sense. And so it's kind of easier to walk away and say, hey, this is a great opportunity. But if one party will not budge on their price, I just can't get it. Like the bank will literally say no to me. And those are two deals we kind of walked away where we're looking at them. And one of them was an easy walk away. Like, hey, okay, cool. I need this much to even make it work. And they're like, no. Yeah. And they're like, I think it's worth this. You're like, it's not worth that. It needs work.
You know, and that's the problem with Lubbock too, man. Overpricing right now. Right. Yeah. Because I guess that's another thing with Lubbock and some of the Texas laws. What I found out was like, you don't have to like disclose a lot of things which you're selling, you know? So comparisons sometimes are not always right. You know what I mean? For what they're trying to sell you. It's very interesting. And, man, I just love the fact that you're like back in the game. Like, you're back in the grind. Cause like when you're in real estate and you're in that mode of like finding the deals and stuff like that, it's crazy. It's like, it's fast too. You know what I mean? And then like boom, documents and numbers and hey, I got this new deal contract. It's just, I love the fact that you're back in it. It makes me actually happy.
Yeah, I mean, it's my job, right? So you get so used to doing your job of helping other people find investment properties and those things, and you're sitting there saying like, "Hey, I'm my own client. Yeah. I got to give my the same respect." And but also we have the podcast, we have this, where it's like, "Hey, I need to document this stuff too as well." And so it's like after a while, it becomes like kind of all these things. But we really restructured everything, and like I said, looking at properties and getting to that point of like, even if I'm not interested in a deal, what's the ARV? Can I even fine tune my ARV because we're going to do a BPO, right? So they're going to have someone go out there and do the evaluation to make sure my numbers are even correct. Because even if my numbers come off wrong and I think I have a bigger room and they come back and say like, no, you're off 10, 20K, that could kill a deal, or that could make me from being very profitable to
one thing I have to ask, like what is appraisal time like now? Since when I was in appraisal,
I've seen some of this
fucking, you already know, ridiculous long. So I just want to know where we are with appraisal time frames and pricing right now.
I saw the one the other day, 2 days.
It's not bad.
But sometimes you don't agree with those 2 day ones. So I mean, it's differing. Like every day is a different kind of turn. So
that's crazy.
One thing that we found.
That's so crazy.
Yes. Yeah. So 2 days, you know what I mean? But like, and also what's hurting us right now. And I think this is what's going to go on to any market going on, because there's a shift in the market. Every realtor knows a shift has happened in their market. Your comps that you're going with, what we're doing is looking at that stuff and saying, hey, man, we might have to take off a certain percentage from this one because a new market has come in. And if you price too high, your property will sit on the market. My job as a realtor, and I always tell all my clients, my job, if I'm selling your property, is to help you get the most amount of money as fast as possible, right? If I'm a buyer's agent, my job is to get you this house you want for the lowest amount as possible. That's just the game we're in. So if you're coming in here and saying, well, my job is to get you the most amount as possible, but I just charge a ridiculous amount, the buyer's agent is going to come in there saying, I'm going to get this lower because it's already at a disadvantage. So you got to really look at what you're doing. And so I would sit there and say every realtor, we already know a shift has come into our market. And that's what you're saying, that for everyone else, if you're a buyer, it's more favorable. I wouldn't say Lubbock is a buyer's market by any means. It hasn't been a buyer's market, I think, since the 70s. Yeah. It's not since the 70s. That's why our market's different. We are literally still in a seller's market. We just have more terms that are more favorable to a buyer. Right. And if you can read between the lines on that, right?
Check this out though. If y'all didn't even catch what he said, probably a couple minutes ago, he said he was looking at a place for 80,000 or something like that, right? And like we're in the economy where you're gonna buy some houses that are like, I mean, remember me and Mike was looking at a property. How much was that property? 36,000. What was it?
I think it was 45,000. Like we got it down to like 32.
Something. This is what the shit I'm talking about. Yes, a $45,000 house, gut job, right? I think the AR. I think we was gonna do. I think it was gonna sell for like 80, maybe something like that, 80, 75, or something like that.
I think the high ARV was 110. That's what made it worth the gut job, because it was like 110.
But they had that foundation issue, right? Had the foundation issue, and then we just again, when you do hard money, you gotta watch who you do hard money with, right? Hidden fees and stuff like that, and then a lot of hard money people will just be bullshitting you, like no bull, right? So that's another thing with hard money. But it's like anything else, it's a relationship you have to establish, and people have to feel comfortable with each other because they are literally giving you free money, right?
Yeah,
straight up.
Yeah. And we might have another episode where I talk about like legit free money. So you can believe free money exists or not, but I think if you structure things correctly, you can. But again, so like I said, for some people, if you're in New York, I've had clients, or investors call me and be like, "Hey, my house is $500,000." I'm like, if you buy a $5,000 home here in Lubbock, you're living almost in a castle, and that's an exaggeration of a castle, but it's pretty different from everywhere else. And there's these places in the United States that have not grown to what you're used to. So for me, when someone's saying, "Hey, this property's, we're looking at properties that are like, we saw one, 30,000, and they said, "Hey, well, how about 40?" Those are the kind of numbers sometimes we're dealing with where you're finding these hidden gems. Now they are gut jobs, but their ARVs are like 150, 190. It's just, do you have the idea, the creative to sit there and say, "Hey, we could do this and this with this one." Okay, cool. And we're not really scared. It is scary. Like, going into that one that we had for you, it's like we had foundations, we had this. Okay, do I have the actual ability to see this through? If we do,
you got to have vision. For real estate,
right?
You got to have vision. And again, we said this in our last podcast, 5 years minimum commitment, 5 years minimum. You got to do your due diligence. You got to be on your shit with real estate. You got to literally have a vision, right? Without a vision, you're going to have a catastrophe. Guaranteed it. And the thing is, what people would scare with real estate, right? They're scared of fucking up, right? You're going to fuck up. Yeah, that's part of it. Like, you can read all the books in the world, you're gonna mess up, right? You're gonna mess up and you're gonna learn from it. Shit, I did, right? Is these books and everything, they're great guidelines, right? But you gotta have the OJT. You gotta get into it, but it gets easier all the time. Like, look at deals when you're not even buying. Get used to looking at deals, and then you'll know if a deal is good off the top soon just by looking at it. Like, I can look at a deal and be like, okay, does this meet my such and such a, Marcus rule? Nope, I'm out. I can do that in 5 seconds. You know what I mean?
Yep.
So yeah, it's a lot of things, man. And I love that, we're both in Texas, and my market is completely different from your market in Texas. I live in the Fort Hood, right? In the military town. This is a renter market, but also a VA's market. Right. But there's no more homes. Right. So it is a crazy renters market right now. And the prices are super low. Right. But I will say this, piggyback on Lubbock. I had a duplex deal in Lubbock. Right. Back in 2018, 19. Right. It was right by the golf course area. Right. $175,000 duplex. And at the time, I got offered a 5.5%, and I was like, "This is too high," because I was so used to kicking myself in the ass, because now that place is worth like 300, like no bullshit, So I love the fact. I think you're gonna boom with your market within Lubbock. I think you're gonna honestly, I see you in the next 3 years having at least 10.
Yeah. And like we were already talking, I was talking about my goals and stuff like that. I started writing them down. Okay, if I do flips, what am I looking at doing? What are my terms for a flip? If I want to do it, I'm more of a long-term guy, but that doesn't mean I can't look at something that says, "Hey man, that is not the best for my portfolio, but that is a nice little chunk of change to help the portfolio." Yeah. So it just depends, right? Started looking at what the goals are, man. Like right now, it's to get one deal before end of the year. And then we're looking at 4 the next year. And just get kind of big goals that are not unforeseeable, but they do kind of scare you a little bit. That's always my MO. Like, it kind of scares me. Okay, good. It's a good goal to go for then. If not, then we'll learn. But yeah, that's what we're looking at doing, man. I really do see that and I want to stick in my own area, because I really do think I have a gym. I do want to invest in other areas, but it's like, man, I got this area right now. I can literally drive. Right. Yeah.
Yeah, 100%, man.
It's like visiting family and be like, "Hey, I can find a house really quick."
Easier to manage. You just drive by these places and stuff like that. Super easy to manage, man. And like I said, and then you'll have enough equity, and you'll have enough to do other deals easily in other places. Just because you have this huge portfolio in your area. And again, man, I would kick it myself in the ass. So many times I passed up on a lot of multifamily homes. I remember there was like 15, 20 multifamily homes, and each week it got smaller. and then it just turned into like 2 all of a sudden. You know, it's just like wow. You
Yeah.
know, so but yeah, it's a good market, man, and I think what you're doing is good. And I actually see, like I just told you offline, like, hey, this goes good, I would jump in a deal with you up in there. I'll be silly not to, you know. But yeah, man, good shit, bro.
Yeah, like I said, I just want to talk to y'all about like different ways of why we said no. My market's completely different from everybody else's, so I have to. And then because I talk to clients, it helps my learning curve because I don't really need to learn a lot new. I try to maybe learn this maybe change my brain a little bit more to more the investor side, of business side of like, okay, I'm now the investor, not the consultant as a realtor.
Yeah.
So, but that learning curve is very small because it's my area, and you know, kind of like what we're saying, like, hey, someone says, what about this street? I look at it and be like, you know what, it's over here. Or like when I told you, I used to go to school in that area. I know that area because I went to school. Like, all right, it's not a good area, let's get out. Like, why? I have a personal history, like I have knowledge of, like, I know a guy over there, I know a guy over here. I saw this happen over here.
You know, living in like a little boom
things.
city, like little boom town. Like now, you have complete advantage over everybody to find like the really good hidden parts. You know, you got the best of both areas. You not only do the real estate stuff, but also now as an investor, because you're all around. The real estate, your job, it forces you to go out there anyway to see what's out there, and then you have these off deal markets that comes on. You're just in a really good place, you know. And like I said, I just see nothing but the moon for you for over here, and just for where you first started at. And then this kind of like, you kind of manifested this whole thing into place right now, which is just pretty fucking dope.